Hey guys, today we're going to do a little walkthrough of the Kiox display. This one will be a little bit more in depth than what we do normally on our videos, so we can go through all the functions and you really can get a good idea of how the display works. To start out, let's turn the display on. So we're just going to hit the power button here. It takes a couple seconds. And by default, you're going to be in this screen. So it's in off mode, as you see that top up there. You have the time here, it's in military time, but you can change that. Shows your battery life, shows that the light is on. This particular bike has the lights always on, but on these new displays, if the light is an option to switch, it'll actually keep the last setting that you previously had. So the light is on. You're going to show the batteries here, the miles per hour, and then this is actually where you're going to see your assistance and your power that you're putting into the bike. If I wanted to change into the assistance levels, I'm just going to hit the plus button, go up here, and go into the first level of assistance. This is eco mode. This will give you anywhere between 50 and 60% assistance. If I go to the next level of assistance, tour mode, you're going to get about double what eco is. So in some bikes, it's going to be about 100%, some will go up to about 140%. And you can see the colors changing, and that's a nice function of this display in that you can just take a quick glance down and see the color if you're good with colors. I'm actually colorblind, so that could be troublesome sometimes. But then I go to the next mode, which is sport mode. This will also be e-mountain bike mode if you have the CX motor, and then the top one, which is turbo mode. As I said, these bars here will show you the assistance, and I'll show you that in a minute when we show this little walkthrough. But this is a default screen. When you turn it on, by default, it's going to be off. If we go to the next screen here, you're going to see the clock just showing what time it is, and then you're going to see the range based on the assistance level you're at. This will change as you ride the bike, and depending on how efficiently you're riding, that sort of thing, it's going to change. But if you change the assistance levels, you can see if I go down to eco mode, you're going to have the top range here, 63 miles. Right now you have 93% on the battery. You can see upwards of 70 plus miles on the low levels of assistance. I've seen even more than that. I've seen upwards of 100 miles, or people are very efficient with their riding, maybe keeping it at lower speeds, that sort of thing. So I'm going to switch over to the next screen. You see the trip distance. Right now it's zeroed out, and the trip time is zeroed out. We actually just reset this, so you're not going to see those details. Here, these are going to be active while you're riding the bike, so you're actually going to see your power and your cadence. This is a really nice feature if you really want to focus on your fitness and improve upon that. I should mention the Kiox is really a display that's made more for that fitness type of rider. There's a lot of data inside the display that you can access, and it's really helpful for keeping a track of those figures. Go to the next one here, you're going to see average speed and max speed. Again, these will update, and you can change how often you want these to reset. Right now they were just reset, so you don't have the numbers of what we just rode, but that's where you're going to see those details. And then this is a screen that you can see all four details in one screen. One new thing here, you can see this BPM heart rate monitor. Now, the heart rate monitor, you're going to want to use a external heart rate monitor. It won't work actually with the Apple Watch or something like that, because that goes through your phone. You're going to need to use a heart rate monitor that could connect directly via Bluetooth. And that's just a big heart rate monitor. If you really wanted to ride and focus just on your heart rate, that's a nice way to go. You'll see here calories. This is going to go based on the weight and height that you enter into the eBike Connect app, which I'll show you in just a moment. And then we have the total distance would be the odometer. On some earlier versions of the Kiox, actually they didn't have this odometer listed on here. So if you don't have that listed, you're probably going to want to update your display to show those details. If I go one more to the right, this is actually going to bring me all the way around So I'm going to go back to the default screen just for a second, because this is what you'll see when you turn the bike on. But if you wanted to go into the settings, you can just go one to the left here and you can get into the settings. If I click this button here, this is the select button, then I can get into the settings. So I'm going to go through these one by one. We're going to click on my e-bike. So you can see that this was recently reset. Well, you might not know that it's February 27th, but it is. So that's why it was just reset, showing the last time that it's reset. It'll reset once a day, and you can at any time reset the range calculation. So for example, if you feel like you haven't been riding that efficiently, but you're going to ride more efficiently on the way home or something like that, you can reset that calculation. This is the wheel circumference. This is basically if you change your tires, if you wanted to change the wheel circumference, this will allow you to make those slight changes to improve the readout on the display. Keep in mind, this is not going to change your actual speed, so if you're trying to change the wheel circumference to make your bike go faster, don't count on that. Then you can see the components. This is just going to show you some different details about the bike, the hardware, the software, etc. And then we're going to go back, just clicking that left button. That's how we'll go back. You're going to go down to Bluetooth. Bluetooth, this will allow me to connect to my phone. Right now I am connected to my phone. I'll show you in a moment how we do that. We actually only need the Bluetooth to be on in order to connect to it, and I'll show you how that function goes. But I just want to show the rest of the settings first before we do that. You could click on my profile. It's showing my details here because I am connected. We can go into system settings. You can change the brightness of the screen. Right now it's set to 100% always bright, but you can actually change it to automatic brightness, and that will change depending on the ambient light which exists. You have the time, which you can go in here and set, the date, time zone, and then the 24-hour format. Right now we're on military time. I'm going to switch off of that. We don't need that. And then we have the bright background. This will actually invert the colors on the background. So instead of being all black, it's going to be white with black lettering. So I'll just show you that just for a second, just to see what that looks like. So that might be helpful for you, for your visibility. I tend to like the standard version, so I'm just going to switch that back. Oh, a little too quick there. So there we go. Imperial units, this is how you're going to switch from kilometers to miles per hour. We're going to leave it in imperial, which is miles per hour here in the States. That's what we use. You can do your language, and then you have the option to do a factory reset if you wanted to go back to all the factory settings. Lastly, on this screen, you have the information, just basic details. I find that most of these things, I don't really use them too much, but you can click through them. If you see, if I want to register, it tells you to go to the eBike Connect app. I'll show you in just a moment how that goes. Frequently asked questions, that'll also take you to a Bosch website. So you're not actually getting too much information specifically in here. One thing is really nice, and I find to be really helpful, if you're not really sure how this works or you need a little tutorial on how to do so, going through this intro to Kiox is really helpful. And this actually will show up when you first get the bike or the display. It will give you this introduction. So I'm just going to click on this intro to Kiox and hit start. So this is what I'll get by default. So this is telling me if I want to go to the right next screen or the previous screen, I'll go right or left and use these buttons here. So I'm going to go to the next screen. More or less support. We have the plus and minus here. And so I'm just going to hit the plus and minus. Go to the next one. Then you can see the supported level, as I mentioned before, shows in the status bar. Go one more to the right. And then it says here we have your performance compared with the motor power. So here we go. The lighter color is your power and the darker color is the motor power. So that's really helpful when you're riding the bike. You can really see what's going on there. And then while you're riding, you can use this special quick menu. I find myself not using it so much. I think that there's going to be some more increased functionality around this over time, but at the moment there's not all that much there. And then that's how you're going to change the quick menu. Actually, I don't believe that this is really working at the moment, so we're just going to kind of skip through that. And then as it says, you can access the settings screens only when you're not riding the bike. That's the settings screen. And on the settings screen, the nice thing, as you can see here, you can see the Bluetooth and then the heart rate monitor. That'll show that those things are connected. And inside the settings screen, this is just kind of tell you how to change through things. And then from there, would you like to look at your activities? This is going to encourage you to do this e-bike Connect app. So they're really encouraging you to use that. It's going to unlock some of these additional functionality with the Bosch system. So let's do that. Actually, I'm going to come back out to the standard screen, and I want to connect my phone. So I'm going to actually show from scratch. Before I had my phone connected, so I disconnected it, and I'm going to start from scratch by just downloading the app. So I'm going to just go in here and search e-bike Connect. So there we see Bosch e-bike Connect. Pull that guy up, and we're going to download that. Just be a couple minutes here. As you see right below that, that's actually the Kobe app, which will be used for the smartphone hub. So now that the app is downloaded, we're going to open it. And it says it'd like to use Bluetooth. We say, sure, you actually need to use the Bluetooth. We're going to log in here, and I'm going to use my email address, password saved in there, so I've used that already. And then it's going to ask me to add a new e-bike device. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit add Kiox. And I want to put this in pairing mode. In order to put it in pairing mode, I'm going to hold the light button down for 5 seconds, and then it's going to put me in pairing mode. Now I'm in pairing mode, and it shows up on my display on my phone screen, Kiox 6656. So I know it's the same as the Kiox I'm trying to connect to. Not that there's another one around here, but good to know that we're connecting to the right one here. And I show on there, connected successfully. Now I'm going to go back to my phone, hit finish, and we could see some details. I don't use this all that much, but you can see some details overall. 117 miles. You see you can track all the activities. I'm going to enable the activity tracking, and I'm just going to do allow while using the app. And then you could see some of the other details in here. You can see, go in here, you can look at some of these different activities. This one didn't have too much going on there. It was a very short trip. Let's see if I have some older ones saved. We can look at this one, 5.83 miles. Now you'll notice here the route is not available for this. This route thing is only available for the Nyan display, which is not a US product at the moment, although there is a new Nyan in the works, although there's not too much talk about it, but there was a little video leak about it, and I think we should be seeing it later this year, I hope. The good thing to note about that, though, is all their displays, for the most part, are backwards compatible, so if you got a bike now, you can always add a different display later. That's a good way to go. So we'll cycle through that. You see the distance, time. We're going to see calories, average speed, average cadence, and then this is again not really going to work, the route, because it doesn't capture this GPS data. You can see here in this ride it was mostly on eco mode, and you have some of the different assistance levels: turbo, sport, tour, and other would be off pretty much. So I'm going to go back here and just go through some of the other details on here. We could look at the map. Sorry, navigation is not supported. Understand that. Don't show that again. And then we can see these bikes. Now this is something kind of interesting. On here, we can click into the bike. You can see some of the details. This is Performance Line CX. If you wanted to remove the bike, you can do that. And then we have this lock feature, and you can actually turn the lock feature on the bike. And what that will allow you to do is you uniquely pair this Kiox display to your bike. So if you remove the Kiox display, somebody can't use another Kiox display on this bike. It's kind of, in some ways, almost like bricking a phone. So like, for example, iPhone, if your phone gets stolen, you could say, I don't want it to work anymore, and you can do that. So if I turn this lock function on and you have this lock sound, that's what you're gonna get there. So now I have this. Actually, one of the cool things, if I turn the display off, now they have the lock function on, and I'm gonna turn the bike back on, you could hear that little chirping noise. And basically, if somebody tries to put another display on here, the bike's not gonna work. It's just gonna show that it's locked. Or if they try to use another app to connect to it, it's not gonna work. So that's kind of a cool security function. And I wonder, other opportunities they might use to develop that further in the future. Just some other details. You can go into the shop. We already have this lock function. Go into settings, storing different data. You could connect different apps and use mobile data. This offline apps would be more for a different display, which we're not talking about today. And that's the gist of the app. Just want to go into the remaining details on the display. And we have that lock on. Every time you turn it on and off, it emits that sound. Now you can turn that sound off in the settings there. But the other details I just want to go over really quickly is just this walk function. So the walk function allows you to move the bike without pedaling it, and you can get a couple miles an hour. This is really helpful if the bike's loaded up and you wanted to walk it up a hill or something like that. So if you were in assistance level, say like eco, you would tap this walk button and hold the plus button. I'm not going to do it right now, but basically you get the idea. You hold that plus button and the bike's going to move along. As soon as you let go of the plus button, it's going to stop assisting. So it's kind of like a dead man switch, if you will. And that's really the gist of the Kiox display. I should note that it's also possible to remove the display. As I showed before, it's magnetic. The screen is Gorilla Glass, so it's really pretty strong. And this is magnetic. It is possible to fit a screw under here if you wanted to attach the display to the display mount. It's important to note that when you want to connect the display, just make sure to put the bottom in first and make sure it's really fully seated in order to make sure that it's going to function properly, because you can turn the display on when it's not connected to the bike, and that's just going to cycle through some of the last data that it had stored. A last detail I want to share about the display is the ability to charge a cell phone. So you have this special micro USB here, and you can plug a micro USB here and plug it into the bottom of your phone, and you can charge it. This puts out 6 volts, 1 amp, so it's enough to charge most phones, and I find that it's really helpful because some of the other displays don't put out enough power to charge a phone, but the Kiox does that really well. I think that's really it, guys. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any specific questions about the Kiox display, just leave them in the comments below, or just questions in general in relation to e-bikes, leave them in the comments, or just reach out. And we're always happy to help and look forward to seeing you in a future video. All right.